Kakadosh Boker Or, Daf Yomi Masechet Sanhedrin Daf Membet Abudale 42A1. We both just said right now Rav Yehuda and Ardae, but they were explaining the two different deals. That Tarvayu Rabbi Yochanan Tzvilu, they both hold like Rabbi Yochanan that we do not make Birkat Levana until it's going to be Mitmale Pegimat Levana. We were talking about Birkat Levana. Until when can you say Birkat Levana? So one Shita said until 7 days, and the other one said until the 16th of the month. So he says Ha Lemeva Kitra, meaning the Shita of Rabbi Yehuda that we're talking about until 7th days of the months. He holds that when we're talking about the milui of the pigima of the levana, it means that it's going to be extra, more, right? Like a chut shel keshet. That's what it means over there. There's going to be more than what it is. So therefore, it's chetzi igul. He says, but that nardai that he comes and he says it's going to be half the month. It's lemeve kinafia. It has to be like a nafa, which is basically like an igul shalem, right? Because that's when it's going to be an igul shalem in such a case. Okay, so Amaleh Ravacha Medif to Ravina Vilivarech Hatova Metiv. Why don't we make after the 7 days the Beracha Hatova Metiv? Why? During those days, Hakadosh Baruch Hu's Metiv Lanu, all the time of the Milui Levana, it continues getting more light. So we should be making Beracha Hatova Metiv. Amaleh says, Atu ki chasar mevarachim and dayana emet. Televich. 1 second. When it's chaser, that means when it's the full month, the full moon. The 50, and then it starts getting smaller. You make a Dayana Emet because now it's becoming smaller. You don't do that. So why would you make a Tova Metiv when it's becoming bigger and you're going to make it now? So says Zigmara, why not? You make both of them. When it starts becoming smaller, you make a Dayana Emet. When it becomes bigger, you make a Tova Metiv. And so Zigmara, since it's normal that every single month it always does this, Lo Mevarachina, we don't make a Beracha. V'amar Rabbi Yacha Brachanim Rabbi Yassi Rabbi Yochanan. If you're going to make the bracha birkat levana in the proper time, it's like you're receiving the shechina. As it's written, and it's written over there, so therefore, and both right, and zeh. So therefore, to do the chidush levana, there's also pnei shechina, just like by zeh vanveu was pnei shechina that they saw pnei shechina. Tana Rabbi Ishmael. אלמלא זכו ישראל לקבי בני אביהם שבשביים כל חודש וחודש, דיים. ואמר אביי, and that means even if they would have done it once a month, for any other month that we're going to receive Bnei HaShechina, it's already enough. ואמר אביי, and this is, by the way, this is in the Nusach of Birkat Levana that we say, Abaye says, Hilchach, therefore, nimrinu me'umad. What does that mean? When you say me'umad, we say it's standing up. Why? Because of the Bnei HaShechina. Meaning, can you do Birkat Levana sitting down? No. Why? You have to do it standing up. They actually used to come and they used to be somech, meaning because they were so old, they couldn't stand on their own. So they would be somech on each other, and therefore they used to make the bracha. But if not, obviously we know that you would have to say it standing up because of this halakha that you're going to be mekabel peneh hashechina. Amaleh Ravashi says to Ravashi, the Marava in Eretz Yisrael, the Varche, they're going to say Baruch mechadesh chodashim. So Amaleh says Ravashi to Ravacha. He says, what are you talking about? Even our women make the bracha. Ela kedrav Yehuda. But rather, it's not just going to be Baruch Mechadesh Chodashim. That means basically it's machma that they do it with Shem Malchut, Baruch Mechadesh Chodashim. So he says, but according to this, he says, 1 second, right? Also, what are you saying? He says, they also say this. So since he says that you have to make a longer nusach, as he's going to say, that's why he says, look, what? This is like, women could even say this. What's going on over here? That you could do a balpeh, just tam, that's it. But rather, how are you going to say? Like Rav Yehuda. The Amar Rav Yehuda says of Yehuda, Baruch atah, Hashem b'ma'aro b'rash ha'chagim, lo yekol zvam, chok zman otal l'meshol yisholutot tafkidam, shasim zon l'tzor konehem, פועל בשבולתו נמת, ונאמר שדבר מצבתן, שהן עתידים להתחדש כמותה, לפעמים לסבור שכמותו, ברוך אתה השם, מחדש chodashim. If you remember, I brought you down once the machloka between Rav Yosef and Rav Ben Sion, that what happens if the last night is Friday night? Are you allowed to do Birkat Levana or not? So Rav Yosef said yes, and Rav Ben Sion says, try to read it from the Gemara. This is the Gemara that he's talking about. That means you open up Masechet Sanhedrin and you start reading the Gemara. And then Rashi, this is, and then you say this is like you're reading it from the Gemara, and then there's no problem. That's according to Shtat Rav Ben Sion. So says the Gemara, you should always make milchama betachbulot with knowing like trickery and things like that. Amar Ravacha Brachanim Rav Yasam Yochanan. When are you going to find milchamta shel Torah? When somebody that he learned a lot of mishnayot. Why? Because since he knows Tamei Mishnah, so therefore he will be able to come and throw at you many different things, and he'll know the answers. So Rav Yosef Nafshe v'rav tevuot b'koach shor. What does that mean? Rav Yosef called upon himself v'rav tevuot b'koach shor. What does that mean? Rova yediot of the shmuot is because of the Tanaim, which are the tevuot. They gave the Torah of Rav Yosef, which is Rav Yosef. Yosef is Bechor Shoro Adelo, right? Yosef is Shor. So therefore, the Rav Tivunot, because of all the Tivunot, the Tanaim, they gave him the Koach of the Shor. Okay, right? We finished that Gemara. We're going now after the two dots, a new Gemara. So we just finished with a little bit about Agata to do with Bikat Levana, and now we're continuing. One of them comes and he says that it was 2 hours into the day. Another one came and he said 3 hours. That's only going to be shaot in the day. So he says, he says, no, if it's before Netz and after, that's for sure not. Right? Why? Because there, a person doesn't make a mistake. So it says, obviously. He says, one of them said before Netz, and one of them said within the Netz HaChama. That's when we're going to say Dutam Betila, meaning those. So he says, it's also Pshita. You know. So he says, no, I would have thought to say, Ha Begiluya Kai, that until now we were talking about the story was done Begilui, which means that you could see it. You're just saying like Zohar HaShemesh, but not the actual Shemesh in itself. Mashmalan comes to teach you that we're not going to say that a person made a mistake like that, and therefore it's going to be cancelled out as well. Fine, 2 dots. And afterwards, they're going to, after the Chakira, the first ed, they're going to bring in the second ed, and then they're going to test them out the same way. He says what? The Talmid, he used to go up, right? Remember, if there was a Talmid that came and he said the Zichut, so they used to bring him up, and they used to promote him. So he says, Vatanya, he would never go down. Meaning, it wasn't that they used to bring him up and then go down the next day. He would never go down, right? And he says, he says, no, but let's say he went up and it was just stam. He didn't say anything good. So you're not going to let him down that day because we don't want that the aliyah would be the yiridah. That no, meaning the same day he would stay there. But if he said dvarim shel tam, he would stay up there. He would never come back down. So Abaye says tirgema, right? You're right. We're talking about that he wouldn't go down the same day if he didn't have mamashu bidvarav. But if he did, you're right. He would stay there forever. Okay. Next, 2 dots. Matzulo zechut. What happens if they found them in zechut or not? Right? But he says if they didn't find a zechut, muchachat mavinin, and they want to see until the next day. Yain maitamalo. Now remember that the next day they would be ma'et and eating, and they wouldn't drink wine. Why wouldn't they drink wine? Amar Chanina. Amar the pasuk says ulrozanim shechar. What does that mean? The Dayanim, they're being done the for they can't come and start drinking, right? It's not proper for them. So they don't drink. Okay, now what happens? So what happens if it's going to be equal? Or you only have one person, which is chovah extra. So it's like 12 against 11. Now we said that in order to be chovah, you need 2 extra, not 1. So they used to judge against each other until finally one of them would basically say, yes, you're right, okay, fine, zechut, and then that's it. So he says, Lora, but what happens if nobody actually saw that? And they kept on saying, oh, it's 12 consistently, chayav. What are you going to do? Potrinoto. Right? They say it's patur. So so then why don't you do that from the beginning? Meaning here, if you're already going to be poteroto, so from the beginning, just be poteroto. Samaleh, this is what he says, this is what Rabbi Yochanan says, right? He said, we don't want that the Dayanim are going to go out of the Bedin with a machloket, without a achra'ah. Because it doesn't sound good that the Bedin, they still stay in a machloket that, do they kill him, not kill him, back, forth, back. So therefore, they try to resolve it. Now, if it still didn't get resolved the entire time after all that, then they're going to be poteroto. Ikadam, there are those that say, Amal Papa Labai says Papa Labai, Velama Yosifu, right? Velama li Yosifu. Why is it that we're not going to be judging, like adding on the Dayanim? Lifterem Bedina Kama. They should have been poteroto from the Bedin Rishon, right? Which means, why don't we add in Dayanim in order to think, just keep the same ones and then just say that's it, he's going to be patur. So Elmaleh, he says, Rabbi Yossi Kai Kavatech, you're right, Rabbi Yossi holds like you. The Tanya is going to write that Rabbi Yossi Omer, Keshem Shem Masvim Bedin Shel Shivim Echad Kabul Sivim Bedin Shel Yosim Shlosha. He has a shita, just like you never add on the Bedin of 71, you never add on the Bedin of 23. So according to him, you're right. You'll never add it on. So if you're never going to add it on, you're just going to be poter oto, and that's it. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita, Omer b'dinei mamonot nizdaken hadin ve'en omer b'dinei nefashot nizdaken hadin. The Dayanim could say it by dinei mamonot nizdaken hadin, that it's already too old of a judgment. But you don't say that by dinei nefashot. What does that mean? Mine nizdaken hadin. If you're going to tell me kash dina, that it's too deep, and therefore you're going to say nizdaken hadin, which means that they're going to be machriz, right, with the Dayanim and everything, right, that it's going to say that you have to wait. You should have said the exact opposite. Why? By dinei nefashot, we wait. We want to wait it out. Not by dinei mamonot. You're right. You have to do the exact opposite. By dinei nefashot, you say nizdaken hadin, but not dinei mamonot. Rashi is going to say, well, no, don't switch it. What does it mean nizdaken hadin? Chatam dina. What does that mean? Gamar hadin was done with chokhmah, which means nizdaken hadin means that they're going to be machriz, the dayanim, that they went very, very deep into it. And therefore, that is only fitting in dinei mamonot, not in dinei nefashot. So Meitvei, they're going to ask a question. Gadosh B'danim is the one that says Nizdaken hadin. If you're going to tell me Chakim Dina, Hainu Damar Gadol, that's why the Gadol says that. But if you're going to tell me Kash Dina, that means it's too deep. Lo Saged Lo Gadol. Why is it not enough that the Gadol of the Dayanim has to say it? Kasufo de Kamech Siv Neshe. He says he's just being mevayesh et atzmo. What's going on? So he says, you're right. That's exactly why. You can never compare a case of somebody that embarrasses himself to embarrass other people. Meaning if a person comes and he says, yeah, but he embarrassed himself. Yeah, a person could embarrass himself. That there's no problem. But when somebody else embarrasses him, it's much worse. Yeah, so he says, Ika Damri, there are those that say that we already learned a few times, if you remember, whether it's about putting the efed on the head of the other nasi and all those things, also because it was more of a busha when you're embarrassing somebody else, not that they could have put it on themselves. It's less than an embarrassment. See, Kadari, there are those that say, Yamarta Bishama Kashtina, if you're going to tell me it's Kashtina, that's why it says, Eno Domim Bilesha Tzmon, means but if you're going to tell me Chakam Dina, that they were very smart in the judgment, so then what? He's praising himself? It's better that somebody else should praise you, not yourself. Meaning a person should always wait for somebody else to praise him, not that they praise themselves. So answers the Gemara, it's much different. A bedin, ta gadol ramya. It's mutal on the gadol. And therefore, even if it's going to be a praise, right, still, it was going to be a praise done by him. And therefore, they used to bring him in. He used to say, so therefore, you see that all the achrazot were always done by the Gadol Dayanim, and therefore here also, to do the bedin, he would come and give whether it's going to be the praise or whatever it is, it would be done always through the Gadol.